You can proceed.
Good evening. My name is Jennifer Saarinen. I'm an educator with the Bristol Warren Regional School District at Kickemuit Middle School as a 6th and 7th grade math teacher. I've been teaching in Rhode Island for 10 years. As an educator, it's always about my students. They are what matters. They are the reason I love my job. I recognize that marriage is a matter for grown-ups, but I'm here today because I can see how Rhode Island not allowing same-sex couples to marry has a negative impact on the students in my classroom in many ways. My middle school is located just 0.8 of a mile from the Massachusetts state line. The question has been raised more than a few times by my students in the last 10 years. We're so close to Massachusetts. Why doesn't Rhode Island let gay people get married? I'm left to say because our state government doesn't allow it. But they're 6th graders. I'm not left off the hook. They ask why. Even to a 6th grader, it doesn't make sense that a heterosexual couple is allowed to marry, but those same couples of the same sex are not able to get married in our state. When you make laws that treat gay and lesbian people differently than other people, you send the message to our students that it's okay to treat gay and lesbian people unfairly. Even 6th graders can hear that message loud and clear. Just the other day, I had an issue in my classroom where one student moved in a certain way, and the other student that saw it said, "Why are you so gay?" I intervened, asked in front of the class what she meant, and told her she wasn't using that word appropriately. Unfortunately, like many students, she was using the word gay as a put-down. But what really struck a chord was the short conversation she had with me in confidence as students moved to the next class. She said, "I wouldn't want someone to say that to me. I'm probably the one that's the most gay here." I'm sorry. She was hurting somebody with the very words that she didn't want to have said to her. It made me really sad, as you can tell, to see such a young person who had internalized these kinds of negative attitudes about gay and lesbian people. As an educator who's interested in knowing what makes my students tick, learning more about their families and what happens when they're not in my classroom is really crucial, because that's what's important to them, and it's more about what happens outside of school and the success that they can bring to the classroom. But I often find that when I'm gathering student information about families from students who come from same-sex parents, it's difficult to get the information because those students don't feel as though the school environment is a safe place for them to openly share. A few years ago, I had a student who really was excited to enter the 6th grade. She'd been full of smiles for the 3 weeks leading up to open house. But the night of open house, she came with her family and she was in tears. She didn't want to come up and say hi to her teachers. And I could see it in her eyes because her mom and her mom's girlfriend were standing behind her. She was embarrassed to think that she didn't know how her family was considered, and if they really were considered a family to the rest of our state. We teach our students on a daily basis to celebrate our differences, to be proud of who they are. But there's only so much we can do to teach them to think that when the law of the land says otherwise. Because I care about my students, I'm an educator in support of same-sex couples, same-sex marriage. Thank you.
Are there any questions or comments? Senator Metz.
As an educator, 31 years in education, the policies that we had in school protected everyone. So we really didn't have that problems, and because I've had to protect many students. And what I would say to you and the others, I wonder if there's a correlation when they took the 10 Commandments out of public buildings. I wonder if there's a correlation when they took prayer out of the schools. I wonder if there's a correlation as we try to remove God from His creation, that we had the Columbine and the other tragedies. So these are some of the, and I'm not looking for a comment, but these are some of the things that I see. And it's all right to have everything that you said, but by the same token, I've seen kids in school chastised because of their religious beliefs, and that shouldn't happen to them either. And that's all I want to say about it, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments for any of these witnesses? Thank you. The next group of witnesses we have Candelera and Benjamin Denisha.